This is the White Coat Investor Podcast, Milestones to Millionaire, celebrating stories of success along the journey to financial freedom.
This is Milestones to Millionaire Podcast number 157. Dual income couple pays off mortgage, among other financial milestones. Still not sure what to do with your student loans? Overwhelmed with how to tackle that giant debt in an ever-changing political climate? The experts at studentloanadvice.com are here to help guide you through the best options to manage your loans. Our experienced staff have consulted on over $250 million in student loan debt. And the average studentloanadvice.com client has saved over $190,000. You will receive a customized student loan plan using the principles of the White Coat Investor, get answers to all of your student loan questions, gain clarity about your financial future, and start down the right path toward financial freedom. Book a consult today at studentloanadvice.com. You can do this, and the White Coat Investor can help. All right. It's good to be back with you. It's good to be here celebrating another milestone. This is the podcast where we celebrate what you've accomplished with you and use it to inspire others to do the same. If you'd like to be a guest on this, you can apply, whitecoatinvestor.com/milestones. By the way, if you're looking for the best credit cards out there, not to carry a balance on them, but for convenience, maybe to get a little bit of rewards back, maybe to get a little bit of protection on some purchases, that sort of a thing, we actually have a recommended credit card page now. It's at whitecoatinvestor.com/credit cards. Check that out. Help support the site. If you apply for them through there, you can see some of the best credit cards on the market there. All right. We're going to get into our interview now, but stick around afterward. We're going to talk about what you need to know about dividends and about dividend investing. Let's get Susan on the line here and talk about all these milestones that she and her husband have accomplished. Our guest today on the Milestones to Millionaire podcast is Susan. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure. I'm so excited.
Tell us what you've accomplished. Actually, I think there's multiple milestones here, but let's list them off.
Well, the main thing that I wanted to come on for is that we paid off our house. We paid off about $560,000 in the last 4 years.
Wow.
And in the process, we became completely debt-free. We also cash flowed a new roof on our house. We paid cash for 4 cars, 2 for me and my husband, 2 for our teenagers. We became millionaires and we became multi-millionaires. Yeah, that's the other thing.
Wow. You've had a good run recently.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, you could have brought any one of those to this podcast and we would have celebrated it with you. And you have accomplished all of them in the relatively recent past, it sounds like. Yeah,
the whole thing, the debt-free, we started about 5 years ago. So the house, we paid off our student loans and, our cars. And then 4 years ago, we decided to start on our house.
So was this a conscious decision? You're like, we don't like debt. We want to get rid of debt. We're going to pay it off.
Yeah, we kind of, we graduated over 20 years ago. I'm 20 years out of residency and my husband's 16 years out of fellowship. He's a cardiologist. And we were 10 years at our attending jobs. And I always run the numbers every month, keep track of our net worth and our spending. And I realized that we really we had like almost $1 million in assets, but our net worth was barely positive. And it didn't make any sense to me. We were making attending salaries for 10 years. So we kind of did some soul searching and realized that it was our debt payments, Our student loans had an interest rate of 0.8% when we came out in 2001. So we were given the advice never to pay them off early because they were so low interest. But there we found ourselves 17 years out of med school, and we were still making a $1,500 a month payments on other stuff. We never had credit card debt, and we were always savers. So I really expected us to be a little further ahead. So we decided to do the snowball method. And we paid off all of our student loans, our consumer debt. It only took about 9 months. And then we were starting to think about saving for our kids' college, which was coming up in the next 5 years. And I had an idea that if we continued on to be debt free, if we paid off the house, we could cash flow our 3 kids in college at the same time using the mortgage money. So we pretty much worked backwards, saw how much we needed to pay off, found little spots of, revenue that we get through our work, and we kind of allocated it towards the house. And as we did it, kind of got faster and faster. We got kind of stronger and stronger at it. And yeah, we paid it off pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's amazing when these dominoes start falling, how quickly the next ones come, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of get stronger and stronger, more disciplined, I guess, over time, seeing the goal at the finish line.
Yeah. So 10 years essentially to get back to broke or a little bit beyond.
Yeah, basically, I
How
think it was,
how how depressing was that to add it all up, 10 years out of residency and realize that you were basically still broke?
it was pretty shocking, especially because our assets, we had saved, our 401k balances were high. We had savings, but it was the debt. In the end, we realized that that was the thing holding us back. And I still believe that's definitely true based on everything we accomplished in the last 5 years.
And so you made mindset shift. You pay cash for stuff, you still buy
That's right.
stuff, but you
We
save up
do.
for it.
Yeah.
And so
Like we
now
just,
interest
yeah.
works in your favor instead of against you.
Exactly. Our
Yeah.
house, our mortgage interest was 4.3%. So we kind of reasoned during the pandemic that that was a pretty good return on our money, you know.
Yeah,
And
back
what
then
could
when
we
you could
do
only make
with
one
Mhm.
percent in a high yield savings account, 4% is pretty good return.
Exactly. And the other thing is that I guess I didn't calculate that, saving 4,000 or 3,500 a month in a mortgage payment is one thing, but we were saving so much every month, putting it towards the house. I forgot that we were going to have that money back as well.
Yeah,
So
that's
we wound
pretty
up with
cool.
a lot more on our cash flow than I actually predicted in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awesome how much money you have to spend or invest or do whatever with when you don't have payments. So
Exactly.
you're both docs?
Yeah, he's a cardiologist and I'm a family doc.
Okay. So range of income throughout your careers, total household
Um,
income. What do you think it's
Throughout
been?
our careers, yeah, about 400 to 600.
400 to 600 throughout your
Yeah, I
careers.
work part time. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
I've always worked part time.
Okay. Very cool. And so I'm guessing based on how this has worked out that you're actually spending less now than you used to.
Yes, that's
Or
exactly
at least
right.
over the
That's
last 4 years, you were spending less than
yes,
you were in the 10
that's
years prior to
correct.
that.
Yes, exactly.
Did you feel like you were being punished? Did you feel like you were
No, not at all.
struggling? Did you feel like
No,
this was a big sacrifice to change your lifestyle in that way?
not at all. I mean, I think originally we've always been more savers than spenders naturally, so that's fine. But what I never could really budget. I would just do. I have a spreadsheet of what we spent, but we never budgeted in advance. So I started using an app every dollar, and that really helped us actually find more money to both pay down debt and do the other stuff with. I mean, we put a $76,000 roof on our house a year and a half ago, and we cash flowed it. And I used the app to make sinking funds and just kind of save up and kind of knew when we were ready to do it. And so we actually felt like we found more money, believe it or not, instead of cutting back. We really didn't deny ourselves. We went on vacation. We have a housekeeper. We didn't really deny ourselves, but yeah, we did kind of see where the dollars were going. And we did feel like looking at it actually helped us optimize where the money was going.
Yeah. I mean, the dollars were there before, right?
Yeah,
It's not like you found them out of thin air. You
right.
stopped spending on something you didn't care about, that wasn't affecting your life,
Yes,
that wasn't making you happier, and
exactly.
and and
Yeah.
told those dollars where to go.
And the pandemic helped because we got big refunds from trips that we had planned. And we decided to make something happy out of a sad canceled trip, that we were going to put that money towards the house. And it kind of accelerated things for sure.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it's amazing if you spend a lot on travel and then you can't travel. It does free up a lot of money in your
Right.
budget for sure.
Yeah,
Okay, so it sounds to me like you're the finance person in this couple. Am I right?
that is true.
Okay,
My
so
husband
I'm
would agree.
guessing that you kind of came to this realization and there was some sort of a conversation involving maybe convincing your spouse. Can you tell me how that went?
Yeah. Well, we've always pretty much been on the same track. Even when we graduated med school, back then we didn't have you, so we would sit in Barnes and Noble and take all the personal finance books we could, and kind of read up on them. So we've always had an interest, and it wasn't until I started listening to you and using the budgeting app and things like that, and kind of opened my eyes to what we thought we could do. My husband was always on board with paying off the debt. It wasn't something he was bothering me about, but when I pointed it out, he saw the logic in it and completely agreed. And then we were pretty much on board. When I said, "Hey, what do you think of this idea? If we pay off the house, we'll have the money to cash flow the college for three kids at the same time, and and also be debt free." And he just jumped right on board and said, "Yes, sure, let's do it."
So it sounds like it was a pretty easy conversation then.
It was not hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your mortgage payment? Do you remember?
Yeah, the mortgage payment, well, it included, the escrow. So it was about $5,000 a month, and it
Okay.
was going to increase because of, the insurance rates going up. It was going to increase to about 5,500, but our actual principal was about 3,500 a month.
And how much did you owe 4 years ago?
4 years ago, we owed like 560,000.
560,000 4 years ago. And your
Yes.
payment was 5,000. So how much did you actually pay every month to the
Um,
mortgage? And how did that
Probably,
change over the 4 years?
yeah, it was about, I mean, we started off slow the first year. I think we paid probably 2 or 4 thousand just to kind of get started until I could see where the money was going to come from each month and how we were going to allocate it. And then we were doing like $10 or $11,000 a month in the last in middle 2 years, and then this year it was probably like 2 or 4 thousand. It wasn't too hard.
And then a few lump sums along the way, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, we're both small business owners, so we get, we own our own business and we get distributions. So we would kind of allocate from the lump sums, and we would also do a little bit cash flowing each month, a little
Very cool.
combination. Yeah,
Very cool. And okay, so now you're multimillionaires. So tell
basically,
us
yes.
about your net worth. I mean, some of that's a paid off house, but
Yeah,
how's
so
the rest of your net worth broken down?
yeah, the net worth, it's half the house, I guess, and half our mostly our retirement is about 1.3 million now, 401ks and Roth IRAs. And then we've got about 160 in cash, and we saved up about 300 for the kids for college. In the
Uh,
end, we did wind up saving some for them. Yeah, so
Funny how that works.
that's pretty much it.
You know,
Yeah,
the big debate I run into in my email box, on the forums, the subreddit, the Facebook group is, should I pay down debt or invest? And the truth is, the people that are winning, they're doing both.
yeah.
They're paying down debt and they're investing. And if
Well,
you're
we didn't
finding
start.
yourself in that
We
situation where it's either or, you probably need to carve out a bigger chunk of your income to build wealth with.
Yeah, I mean, we did the snowball method, and once we were done with the regular debt, we basically, we were maxing out most of the time, maxing out our 401ks and retirement, and then we started putting money into the kids' college until we realized, hey, there's 300 in there, so we could probably stop and start putting some of that money towards the house too.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like their college is going to be well taken care of.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so is anybody out there, supporting you in this? Anybody cheerleading for you? Did you keep this just to yourselves, or did you share this with
Yeah, I
family or
mean,
friends? Or
we live in an area where debt is, well loved, and the credit card game is the number one topic of conversation at dinner parties. So that was part of why I wanted to come on, because I guess your audience and talking to you as someone that can really understand, because a lot of people can't really understand and they think it's weird, which it might be a little odd, but yeah, we're super excited. Only really our families knew, and our kids were very excited. They wanted us to kind of announce it, or do something like a debt-free screen, that kind of thing.
cool, cool. It sounds like you've had a little bit of Dave Ramsey influence there. You make your
A
kids
little
listen
bit,
to the
yeah.
show.
Yeah, back in the day when we were, trying to pay off our regular debt, yeah, we did listen to the podcast, and the kids, they know all about the Dave Ramsey method, and yeah, just setting them up for the future too.
How old are they?
19 and two soon to be 17-year olds.
Okay, so they're on the verge of leaving home.
Yeah.
And what do you think they're going to take from being present in your lives when you kind of took control of your money in this way?
Well, I see it in my daughter already. She left to college, and ironically, she got a full scholarship to her school, so so we didn't have to worry as much. But I see, them knowing that when you have money, save a little bit of it, enjoy it if you can, but don't rack up debt and don't owe anyone anything, because you're better off. You move a little faster if you don't start off with payments and things like that.
All right. What advice do you have somebody out there that's sitting there, mid-career. Maybe they're 10 years out of residency. They don't feel like they're moving. They've got a little bit in saving. They've still got some student loans. Maybe they got a car loan. They got a mortgage. And, all their friends talk about credit cards at dinner parties. What advice do you have for them?
I mean, I would say it's not too late, and the earlier you start, the better, obviously, and
Very
being on
true.
board with your spouse and maybe not coveting things, but, finding contentedness within yourself and, pride in the things that you can accomplish without any help or outside, inheritance or anything is something that feels really good.
So what's next in your financial goals?
Well, we just started a taxable account for our retirement. My husband just turned 50, so we're looking at maybe I work part time and it's great. We're looking at him maybe backing off of a couple call situations and extra work that he does to make things to let him decide if he wants to stay in practice for the next 15 years or not.
Yeah,
The
it's pretty
freedom,
awesome. Pretty awesome
yeah,
to have work become optional in your life, or at least
basically,
full-time work.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you, Susan. You should be very proud of
Thank you
what
so
you guys have
much. Thank you.
accomplished.
Thank you.
5, 6, 8, whatever they are, milestones that you've done that we're talking about today. You're clearly winning, and you should be
Yeah,
proud of yourself. We're proud of you, and thanks for coming on the
thank
show
you.
and encouraging others to do the same.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that. The part I love about that interview was that it all kind of kicked in at mid-career. Because I run into lots of people that feel like they got a late start. And the truth is, it's never too late to do something to improve your finances. And when you have a big shovel like doctors do, particularly a two-doc couple, you can do amazing things at any time. Even if you didn't do them right in the beginning, you can still do it now. And there is a whole bunch of whatever you want to call it in your budget, slack, flack, crap, whatever, that you can find money from and take money from things that don't matter that much to you and put it toward things that do matter to you. Maybe you need one of these apps out there, like You Need a Budget or Every Dollar, one of these apps to help you find it, to help you budget, and to help you realign your spending with what you actually care about. But you can do it. Susan did it, and you can do it too. All right. I promised you we were going to talk about dividend investing. And, this is something you hear all the time out there from these people that love dividends. All right. Well, maybe you shouldn't be that excited to get dividends. I actually still do get excited when I get dividends. The ETFs and mutual funds I invest in pay dividends. And in the taxable account, that's money we could use to live off of. I mean, we could live just off of our dividend income. And some people get excited about building a portfolio of dividend stocks that could provide that same thing for them. But getting a dividend really shouldn't be that exciting. You see, a company, a stock, that's what a company is. That's what a stock is a company. They have a choice of what to do with their profits, right? They can keep it in the company, find some way to reinvest it and make money off it, and the value of the company goes up. Or they can send it to the owners, right? It's the same decision I have every month with the white coat investor. White coat investor makes some profits. I can figure out a way to reinvest that. Maybe we buy some advertising. Maybe we hire somebody else to help, those sorts of things. Or I can take it as a dividend. It's the same thing that every CEO and every publicly traded company across the country has to make that decision every year. Are we going to pay out dividends or are we not going to pay out dividends? And so the company's doing exactly the same, whether they send you a dividend or not, right? They make the same amount of money. The problem with getting the dividend is you have to pay taxes on it, at least if you're investing outside of a retirement account. So rather than being able to choose when you take money out of the investment by selling a few shares of it, you're forced to take money out of the investment and in a taxable account, pay taxes on it. Hard to be excited about paying taxes on income that you don't actually need yet. And so that's why maybe getting a dividend shouldn't be really all that exciting. But people get super excited about it out there. I think the issue is they start looking at those dividends and they compare what's coming in dividends to what they're actually spending. And they figure when the dividends equal what they're spending, now they're free. They don't have to work anymore. But the truth is, they're probably free long before the dividends equal what they're spending. Because, the stock market these days has a dividend yield of something like 1.5%. And so if you wait until you can live off just the dividends, instead of, a 4% sort of withdrawal from the portfolio, you will actually have a portfolio that's over twice as large. That's going to take you another decade to acquire. You will have oversaved. And so that is the main issue with dividend investing. If you are committed to only spending your dividends, I want to be your heir, right? Because I'm going to inherit a whole lot of money. On average, taking 4% out of a portfolio every year, after 30 years on average, the portfolio is 2.7x the value of the original portfolio. If you're only taking out 1.5%, you can imagine how much larger that portfolio was than what it started with when you retired. But the bigger problem, than just oversaving, the bigger problem is people start looking for investments that pay out more than 1.5%. So they find a stock that pays 5% or 6% or 3.5% or whatever, and they preferentially invest just in those stocks. And the problem when you do that is you start taking on uncompensated risk. You're no longer diversified. You're taking risks that you're not being paid to take. And it can also cause a lot of people to fail to even look at their total return, which is really what matters. Because there are investments out there that will pay you more income than they're actually making. So if the return on the investment is 5%, and it's paying you 8%, your investment is shrinking as you go along. That is not a sustainable situation long term. And so you got to be careful about that. A lot of people sometimes also mistake dividend stocks for bonds, right? Yeah, a stock pays a dividend and that's income, and bonds pay, coupon payments, these interest payments, and that's income, but they're not the same thing. Okay? Dividend stocks can drop dramatically in value. The stock can stop paying a dividend. It is not the same thing. There's a lot more risk in owning a stock, even if it pays a dividend, than there is in owning a bond. The truth is buying dividend stocks is really just kind of tilting your portfolio toward value stocks. And it turns out there's a lot more efficient ways to get a value tilt in your portfolio than investing in dividend stocks preferentially. You can just buy a value stock index fund. You will have a higher dividend yield. You will have this similar tilt to your portfolio. You will have similar portfolio performance, and you don't have to go out there and select individual dividend stocks, much less a dividend-focused mutual fund. The counter argument to this is that, well, if the C-suite of the company has to pay a dividend, they'll manage the company better. And maybe there's a little bit of truth to that. But that's, long term, when you look at the entire market, that's really not a factor that causes you to do better by focusing on dividend stocks. All you're really getting is a value tilt, and this is not the best or most efficient way to do that, according to the studies. This doesn't necessarily hurt you so much in a tax-protected account like a 401k or an HSA or 529, but in a taxable account, you're paying more taxes than you have to if you are focusing on dividend stocks exclusively. Hope that's helpful to you, and as you design your portfolio, and don't get lured by the siren call of dividend stock investing. If you're still not sure what to do with your student loans, or you're overwhelmed with how to tackle that giant debt in an ever-changing political climate, check out what the experts at Student Loan Advice can do for you. They're here to guide you through the best options to manage your loans. They've consulted on over $250 million in student loan debt, and the average client has saved over $190,000. You get a customized student loan plan using the principles of the White Coat Investor, get answers to all of your student loan questions, gain clarity about your financial future, and start down the right path toward financial freedom. You can book a consult today at www.studentloanadvice.com. All right, we've come to the end of another episode. We'd love to hear what you thought about it. You can email us, editor@whitecoatinvestor.com. Better yet, leave us a 5-star review. Those 5-star reviews help spread the word about this. Of course, if you don't like something, send me the email. If you do like something, put it in a 5-star review. If you'd like to come on the podcast, whitecoatinvestor.com/milestones is where you apply. Keep your head up and shoulders back. Keep knocking out those milestones. I mean, knock out the dividends too, but especially knock out the milestones. We'll celebrate them with you. We'll encourage you on to the next one. you'll inspire someone else to do the same. See you next time on the Milestones to Millionaire podcast.
The hosts of The White Coat Investor are not licensed accountants, attorneys, or financial advisors. This podcast is for your entertainment and information only. It should not be considered professional or personalized financial advice. You should consult the appropriate professional for specific advice relating to your situation.